They had the ultimate fear of buying as a military family. They bought a home, they moved in, and not even a year later, they had orders to move. And that is really hard to stomach. What are you supposed to do? And this is why a lot of military families have a hard time deciding whether it's okay or not to buy. Hello, welcome to Closing Chapters, Everyday Real Estate Tales. I'm your host, Brittany Fry. I'm a realtor, I'm a military wife, and I'm a mom. Join me and come transaction by transaction throughout my real estate career starting back in 2016 to hear about the highs, the lows, and the unexpected turns along the way through all of my customers. It's going to be a crazy ride, you guys. I am so excited to share the past, the current, and then what's coming in the future. Hang tight for the ride. Join me about being a realtor, a military spouse, and a mom. Can't wait to see you there. Welcome back, friends. I am here to tell you about another great military family, this time on the selling side. So you remember that road, Watermark Drive, that I told you I had so many transactions on over a couple of years span? This was another one of those. So the first transaction I had on Watermark Drive was for a girl in our shop, my husband's shop. And that was such a cool experience. And now this time it's her neighbor's turn. So the reality is, though, this was not an easy transaction for the sellers. They had the ultimate fear of buying as a military family. They bought a home, they moved in, and not even a year later, they had orders to move. And that is really hard to stomach. What are you supposed to do? And this is why a lot of military families have a hard time deciding whether it's okay or not to buy. Now, the reality is, as long as you are willing to see different options, there's always a way, right? And we're going to talk about that. So they came to me and said, Brittany, we've got orders. Should we sell? Should we rent? What can we do? And at that time, we ran the numbers. They bought in 2016, so this is in 2017, and it wasn't going to work well for them. I am not about people having to sell and take a loss if there's a better way. So they said, okay, what's our better way, Brittany? So what we did is we made a plan to rent the property for a year and then revisit. And that worked beautifully. They rented the property for a year. It covered their mortgage. Everything was good. They continued to appreciate and build equity into the property. And then in 2018, towards the end of the lease, they said, okay, Brittany, where are we at? And I took a look at the numbers and I said, we can do this. So let's talk about the numbers for a moment. They bought in 2016 at $110,000. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on a good lot, like almost a half an acre or more. So anyhow, now 2018, 2 years passed, and we're listing it for $126,900. So that definitely is good, right? We've got a little bit of equity built up. We have rented it out for a year, and now it has appreciated a little bit more. We got it under contract for $125,000, paid $2,000 in closing costs, so their bottom line would have been $123,000. Not so bad, right? And that was after being on the market for about 79 days. And to make things even more interesting, they sold it while the tenant was still in the property. So that means you have to give 24 hours notice and give tenant rights in order to be able to show the property and sell it, which makes it a little bit harder. There's a lot of times that people come in and want to see a property fly by night. They're just automatically on a whim, like, I can only see it now, can I see it? And if the answer is no, it's no, and you have to move forward. But that can be really hard from a seller's perspective to say, I can't just let everybody walk in the door that needs to get in to see it and sell it quickly, right? They were extremely patient and it worked out beautifully. So they ended up getting a little bit of money back in their pocket, which is awesome. But here's the thing that you have to remember, right? We just talked about the numbers, 110, they sold for 125. You go, great, they made $15,000. Well, no, because when you purchase with a VA loan, there's a VA funding fee that you either pay at closing if you so choose, or gets added into your mortgage. So they owed more than $110,000 from the get-go. So they had to pay that down before they ever start digging into that $110,000 they truly paid for the house. So this is where we needed to let the house build a little bit more equity for the next year to be able to get them out with a clean slate. So I say all this to remind you there are so many different ways and avenues that we can go when we are looking to sell properties. So if you're a military customer, client, buyer, seller, and you want to talk about this a little bit more, then let's link up and have a conversation, especially if you would love to buy, but you just aren't sure what that looks like. Let's talk about it. Let's see what your comfort zone is. Not everything is a one size fits all. It may not be the best choice for you, but if there's a great opportunity and you're willing to stick with it, then it could be a fantastic option for you. Okay, let's revisit last week's episode. I just told you guys that we made the choice not to sell our house in Tennessee when we moved to North Carolina because we ran the numbers and saw how much equity we could build in the property if we held it for a few more years and then sold it. So we rented it out and it's going to cover itself, right? As long as you can rent it and it can cover all of the property's bills and you can at least break even, then what a beautiful way to build equity and to literally be like making a savings account happening without ever really even noticing it, right? So now when we sell it in a handful of years, we'll probably have a year's worth of my husband's salary in cash up front. That sounds pretty good to me. What about you?